Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr. are greeting each other at a party in 1997. Swimsuit show, Paris, 1949. A girl at a zoo in Chicago, Illinois is holding a baby crocodile, sometime during the 1950s. Haymaking in Italy, 1959. Black Cat cigarettes on wheels, 1915. The brand was named after a cat that slept in a shop window. It's become an auto advert. Two Japanese child soldiers were captured on Okinawa in 1945. They claimed to be 18 and 20 years old. The mouse tank model was demonstrated to Hitler. This happened at the Wolf's Lair headquarters on May 14, 1943. Eminem, his mom, and his younger brother in the 1990s. Demi Moore and John Cusack in One Crazy Summer, 1986. There was a Nazi rally in New York City in 1939. Best friends, Mickey Rourke and Johnny Depp, 30 years ago in Los Angeles, 1994. You're looking at the Eiffel Tower from the Arc de Triomphe. It's 1920. A colorized photo shows Che Guevara during his medical school years compared to when he was a revolutionary. A consolidated B-24J Liberator was salvaged at Kingman Army Airfield in April 1947. Traditional Yoruba house, Nigeria, 1904. Jane Mansfield is at the Empire Cinema in Leicester Square, London, England, on the 18th of September, 1959. In 1910, there was a boxing prize fight. It was faked by a church in their sanctuary, hoping to attract a larger congregation. That's Crown Prince Carol of Romania, who would later become King Carol II in 1918. The coronation of King George VI happened in London on May 12, 1937. A group of men are goofing around and switching clothes around 1910. Sean Connery and Charlotte Rampling in 1974 in the movie Zardoz. Mental patients are participating in dance therapy. This is happening in a New York State asylum in the United States in 1922. The 30s, and we're at the London Zoo. The keepers are feeding the animals. A chimpanzee is balancing on a rope, holding an umbrella, and there's also a puppy. This was in the early 20th century. A rocker tries to kick over the scooter of a rival mod. England, July 1964. Children also fought in World War II. A U.S. Air Force Douglas A-1E Skyraider is dropping a white phosphorus bomb on Viet Cong positions in South Vietnam in 1966. A little girl and her dog, and they have a smoking pipe. This was in the 1940s. Acrobat Norma Fox is doing the dangerous act Iron Jaw in 1956, using Kodachrome slides. Susie Sue, 1980. American World War I veterans are at a 1978 reunion in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. The man with the white gloves has a combat infantryman badge, which means he also fought in World War II. All right, here's the information. Julia Roberts, 1989. In 1925, there's a photo showing the giant of Paruro. The USS Sangamon, which was CVE-26, was attacked by a Japanese kamikaze aircraft off Okinawa on May 4, 1945. The plane missed the escort carrier by 25 feet or less. The first McDonald's in Moscow opened on January 31, 1990. It was a huge deal. Massive crowds showed up, and some people waited for hours to get inside the new restaurant. A Swedish policeman is wearing experimental body armor and carrying a Carl Gustaf assault rifle in 1970. The International Sweethearts of Rhythm, an all-female interracial swing band, toured the U.S. during World War II. Some white members were arrested in the South for playing in a supposedly colored band. The year was 1943. South African military signalers are happily watching a family of hedgehogs that they took in. It was July 31st, 1941 in North Africa. Newsies at Skeeter's Branch, Jefferson near Franklin in St. Louis, Missouri in 1910. Mussolini is giving the Roman salute in front of a statue of Augustus Caesar in 1935. Alfred Hitchcock with his grandchildren enjoying the snow in 1960. This is one of the rare photographs taken on an Arab slave ship in 1882. A Greek woman is posing on a small hill, wearing her traditional clothes. This was taken in the 1920s using the autochrome Lumiere process. A French soldier with double arm amputations is learning to write using prostheses. This happened sometime between 1914 and 1918. Paulina Longworth, who was 15 months old, is with her mother, Alice Roosevelt Longworth, at the circus grounds in 1926. Portraits of Saddam Hussein are on a car while Iraqis celebrate the end of the Iran-Iraq War in Baghdad on August 20, 1988. Brigitte Bardot, Cannes, 1950s. The Big Oak in Thomasville, Georgia, from 1895 to 2020. It's a tea party from 1906. David Bowie, 1972. A newly constructed wall divides the central part of Warsaw, Poland, as it was seen on December 20, 1940. It's part red brick and gray stone walls, built 12 to 15 feet high by the Nazis as a ghetto. A pen for Warsaw's approximately 500,000 Jews. A young businessman is on the London Stock Exchange in 1937. There's a lady having breakfast while in flight aboard a Deutsche Lufthansa plane in 1928. A month after the nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan in 1945. Mary Helen Marshall, the 1970 Miss Florida Seafood Queen of the Florida Seafood Festival in Apalachicola, Florida, during the 1970s. Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was still an aspiring powerlifter in the 1960s. Behind him is his future best friend, Franco Columbu. Measuring the brainwaves, 1940. There's a machine with 4 flexible rods attached to the brain, designed to transmit data and measure brainwaves. It was designed and used in 1940. Let's talk about popular hairstyles from the 1950s. Nikolai Nikolaevich Mikloho Maklay, the discoverer of New Guinea. Donald Trump, 41 years old, in Moscow at the invitation of Yuri Dubinin, the Soviet ambassador to the U.S. That was in July of 1987. Marine Captain Edward Burkhardt found this kitten at the foot of Mount Suribachi, Iwo Jima, the site of some of the most brutal fighting of the war, in 1945. Construction of the National Archives Building, Washington, D.C., in the United States of America. The photo was taken in 1934. Roy Rep and his stunt car, 1915. Segregationists harassed 6-year-old Ruby Bridges, even making a doll of her in a coffin because she was going to an all-white school. This happened in Louisiana in 1960. Suffragettes are in a procession to promote the Women's Exhibition in London, 1909. Dodie Smith, the author of The 101 Dalmatians, with her first Dalmatian, Pongo, in 1934. Alain Delon, along with his wife Natalie and their son Anthony, were in Saint-Tropez in 1966. There are 2 Spanish women dressed in traditional clothing. This was taken around the 1900s. The photo isn't colorized. It's an autochrome Lumiere. The year is 1922. An Irish lady poses barefoot in her traditional clothes. This was in Ireland in 1913. This is about a Bergonic chair, used to give General Electric treatment. It was used for psychological effects in psychoneurotic cases during the World War I era. From September of 1947 to January of 1949, the traveling exhibition Freedom Train traveled across the United States. The exhibition was dedicated to the history of American democracy. Alfred Hitchcock and the Crew of the Birds, 1963. Henry Cyril Paget, the 5th Marquess of England, from a county in Wales in 1900. In February 1947, the tiny settlement of Snag in Yukon, Canada, recorded what remains the lowest temperature ever measured in North America, negative 83 degrees Fahrenheit, which is negative 63.9 degrees Celsius. Okay, so, Azerbaijan, Soviet Socialist Republic. There's a lion, a domestic lion, the king, and he's at the dinner table with the whole Berberov family in 1971. The carved Maori house is a beautiful structure. The building has a gable roof and is adorned with intricate carvings. These carvings depict figures and patterns significant to Maori culture. The house also features a porch, providing a welcoming entrance. Giant plants are at Puahokomoa Falls, Maui, Hawaii in 1924. Children are playing, France, 1952. Three French boys are looking at a knocked-out Panzer V Panther in the Falaise pocket of Saint-Lambert-sur-Dive, Normandy. This happened on August 25, 1944. HMS Ark Royal, with the designation R09, is rendezvousing with the Mayflower replica in the mid-Atlantic. That was on June 7, 1957. Pin-up models are washing a Miami Beach Fire Department car. This happened in Florida in 1955. Folks are greeting American planes. These planes brought food to West Berlin. West Berlin was surrounded by Soviet troops. This happened in Germany in 1948. The damaged Ushi Tower during the bombing of Belgrade, 1999. Rodney Dangerfield is posing with his billboards in Las Vegas, 1976. Dolores O'Riordan, the Irish musician and singer-songwriter from the Cranberries, posed for a photo for Interview magazine around 1995. A dancer is dressed as an ostrich in the Folies Bergère show at the London Hippodrome. This was in England, 1951. Jennifer Connelly, 1998. The day Soviet and Allied troops met at the River Elbe, near Torgau in Germany, on April 25, 1945. A policeman is questioning a boy who seems to have been trying to fish in a fountain in Trafalgar Square, London, in 1892. A family of Russian peasants are making wooden toys to sell. This was in the early 20th century. The Seiko Data 2000 from 1984. There's a man surrounded by armed mujahideen. He's been condemned as a traitor and is moments away from death. This all happened in Kabul in 1980. Wooden Leg, Kahamaksiviotai, from the Northern Cheyenne Reservation in Montana, 1927. John Lennon and May Pang are taking a walk, carrying armfuls of newspaper and records naturally. This was in 1974. Arnold Schwarzenegger in a Japanese commercial for instant noodles, 1989. Mick Jagger, Madonna, and Tony Curtis were at the Vanity Fair party in Los Angeles in 1997. Anne Bancroft and Mel Brooks are celebrating the news of her Academy Award win for The Miracle Worker from 1963. Moscow experienced a flood on April 11, 1908. The Highway of Death. This was the result of American forces bombing retreating Iraqi forces in Kuwait in 1991. The villagers of Bawamataluo are dragging a megalith. This took place in 1915. In 1942, the Atlanta Annuals were started by Hale Woodruff. Every year for decades, an exhibition was staged at Clark Atlanta University. It was for dedicated middle and upper-class black collectors to buy the works of new and established black artists. Great Britain, the United States of America, Australia, British India, Germany, France, Austria, Italy, and Japan. Jerry Lee, 22, with his 13-year-old cousin wife. Dolly Parton entertained the troops in 1991. Women in bathing suits are trying to push a sunken BMW out of the water. This happened in Germany in 1934. Salvador Dali from Spain in the 1930s. New York, 1917. Mascots are aboard Recruit. They're furry and feathery companions for sailors on the landship in Union Square. American soldiers are watching the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in March 1944. Osama bin Laden was photographed with several Mujahideen fighters during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1988. Deposed Italian dictator Benito Mussolini after being rescued by German paratroopers from captivity. A week later, the Italian Social Republic would be proclaimed with German support. This happened in September of 1943. It's about the aftermath of the Otwochen railway accident, which was the deadliest railway accident in peacetime in the history of Poland. 67 people were killed and 64 were injured. It happened near Otwochen, Poland, around August 19, 1980. Armed Republican militia women in Madrid at the beginning of the Spanish Civil War, 1936. Prague, 1910 versus 2020. A fighter squadron on Soviet RF-8 Gaz-98 aerosleds sets off on a campaign. This was on the Northwestern Front in 1942. Hell, Paris, 1952 to 1980. The Cameron Highlanders, a Scottish infantry regiment of the British Army, and Indian troops march past the Great Pyramid in the North African desert on December 9, 1940. Sybil Shepherd and Martin Scorsese on the set of Taxi Driver, 1976. Marilyn Monroe learns how to use an oxygen mask aboard an Air Force jet to Korea, where she entertained the troops. The United States Air Force photo was taken in 1954. Transporting draft beer in plastic bags, that was 1990 in Kazan. German panzer operators are building a KV-1 model,